Hello. What is your take on the yes. In order to minimize the enforced diminishment of the range of our broadcast by saying any trigger words which would result in censorship, let me translate this question. We have a person asking, what is my take on the recent conflagration which enveloped and consumed a vast inventory of TP. I expect you know the inferno to which I'm referring. What is my take on that? Well, if you recollect the admonition of the late Mr. Whipple, don't squeeze the Charmin. When it comes to salary and wages, don't squeeze your employees. Otherwise, those self-same employees might just turn around and put the squeeze on you. JFC, WTF are you going to do with all that candy? You ask me what I'm going to do with all of that discount holiday candy that I just got on sale? Well, I'm not going to hand it out to trick-or-treaters, that's for sure. Would you be able to credit it? I plan on partaking of all of that candy. Every night here, I still evaluate one movie per night, and then I watch one episode of The Late Show. For example, previously it was the 1980s version of The Twilight Zone, and currently it's the Ray Bradbury Theater. And I like a lot of snacks while I am enjoying all of that television viewing. Yeah, I'm going to partake of all of that myself. Yes, indeed. And should you find that difficult to believe, well, I promise you, I don't have the teeth to prove it. When did you first start donating plasma? I mean, the blood plasma? That would have to have been in March or April of 1995. How do you think Tricky Dicky would feel about old Uncle Donnie? By old Uncle Donnie, I presume you are not referring to the old-time radio host for the children's program from all those decades ago, Uncle Don. Yeah, Tricky Dicky, for those of you who do not know. This question is asking, what do I believe that Richard Nixon would feel about this current fake, fraud, phony pretender of a president that you have trespassing in the White House? And I can answer your question because I've actually given it a great deal of thought, not just in terms of Dick Nixon, but in terms of all of those back number old guard Republicans. You go back far enough to a certain fixed point, you work your way forward, let's say Ike Eisenhower and Everett McKinley Dirksen, the so-called log cabin Republicans, who would have been speechlessly outraged by this degenerate. You move forward, you've got Barry Goldwater, who I can assure you would have shot him. He would have pulled out those 6-shooters and he would have shot him, point blank, no doubt about it. Moving forward, you get to Dick Nixon and Gerald Ford, Gerald Ford would have been so, there's no melodrama implied here, he would have been so hurt and offended by this specimen that I can hardly put it into words. No embellishment. Then you move on to Ronald Reagan, Nancy Reagan. They would have been, all of these folks would have opposed this jackass. No matter what kind of ill will you may harbor toward any of them, I can give you an assurance with almost metaphysical certainty that all of them would have stood shoulder to shoulder with each other and eventually with all of you in opposing and deposing this creature. I can veritably promise you this. You've asked about Dick Nixon, who, because of all of the skeletons in the closet in the Nixon administration, you would probably think that this puts him on par with this. And I understand that. But in terms of a sliding scale alone, the misdeeds of Watergate and such, everything in that administration, it comes off like a malfeasance or a misdemeanor in contrast with what you have going on today. Now to get to the specifics, literally, what would the one feel about the other? As far as I know, toward the end of Dick Nixon's life and that of Pat Nixon, the late First Lady, the two of them met this reprobate at a dinner party in New York City. And at the time, they were very much taken with him. They were taken in by him. They were charmed by him. They were deeply impressed. All the more so when they learned that he had political aspirations. But neither of them lived much longer, and they certainly didn't live to see what's going on today. And I solidly believe that in terms of Dick Nixon, he would have either followed the example or would have set the example of Dick Cheney and would have renounced all of this and everything to do with this tainted, diseased individual. Which brings us back to the point. You see, all of them would have opposed, not only as Republicans, but just as Americans. But as Republicans, in terms of this masquerade as a Republican, your current day Newt Gingriches and your Mitch McConnells and even your Pat Buchanans, they could vouch for the veracity of what I am telling you here and now today. As much as you might doubt my response to this question, they would vouch for it. They would stand by it. And yet, they continue to stand by this thing, knowing the veracity of what I'm telling you. They continue to support him. And that is what is so insupportable, so inexcusable, so unimaginable, so unthinkable. And that too would be to the everlasting disappointment of all of those back number, dinosaur, old guard Republicans. Mark